directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Brendan Fraser. In this movie, Brendan Fraser plays a severely overweight English teacher. He teaches online classes for a university. He never has his camera on for his students though, so they never, see him like this because he's obviously very embarrassed by how overweight he is now. And then one day he's given very, very bleak news by his nurse friend, basically saying you have only this amount of time left to live. So he decides to use that time to reconnect with his estranged daughter, played by Sadie Sink, whom he hasn't really seen or even spoken to in like 8 years. Gonna be honest with you guys, just gonna be straight up, I'm not the biggest Darren Aronofsky fan. Nothing against the guy. The honest truth is, I haven't seen any of his movies. Aside from Noah, I did see Noah, but that and this movie, only Aronofsky movies I've seen. Please don't shoot me. I actually do own Requiem for a Dream on Blu-ray. I just haven't seen it yet. It's one of the actual several movies in my collection that I own. I just haven't gotten around to yet. Reason I haven't gotten around to it with that movie is because I'm not ready for my soul to just shatter. But I was very interested in seeing The Whale because I was very interested in seeing Brendan Fraser's performance. I heard it was getting a lot of buzz, and this was basically being hailed as his comeback. I remember seeing Brendan Fraser in the Mummy movies from way back in the day. I really liked him in The Mummy. And since then, I knew he did a few family-ish movies here and there. And then he just kind of disappeared off the grid. I honestly thought he just kind of retired from acting. Then I found out he was going to be in this, and I'm just like, oh wow, he's back. Well, I guess that's worth seeing. And yeah, you know what? Let's just get right into it right now. Brendan Fraser, I think, is officially a lock for Best Actor at the Oscars this year. Yeah. Sorry, Austin Butler. I would have said it would be yours before I saw this movie, but now that I have, it is Brendan Fraser's to win. This guy just puts his heart and soul into this role completely and delivers one of the most emotional and raw performances I think I've ever seen. Like, I think that's what I would tell people straight up. Even if you're not a big Aronofsky fan, if you haven't loved his movies, Brendan Fraser's performance is worth seeing this movie. 100%. I mean, he's just a broken man. He doesn't really care about getting healthy or really saving himself. He just sees this opportunity with his daughter and he just wants to take it and say that he did that right. I mean, he's depressed, he's lonely, he's screwed up a lot in his life. And it really is. It's kind of painful to look at him because, he is barely capable of moving on his own, doing anything on his own. The only thing he can really do on his own is binge eat excessively, and that's tough to watch when he does because he just gorges himself on really unhealthy food, and you're basically just watching a man kill himself. Slowly but surely. And that's what I'll say. In more ways than not, this movie is not an easy watch, and as a result, it may not be for everybody because it touches on tough subjects like, loss and family and faith and health, and how sometimes the unhealthiest people are the ones who don't really try the hardest to get themselves right. I mean, there are constant moments people are just, trying to get through Brendan Fraser's head, hey, if you take some action, you might actually be able to survive and get better, and he doesn't really care to. Kind of remind me of like the people who have maybe family or friends that really deal with addiction or deal with crime and things like that. It's like you have the ability to get yourself right, but they never try to, and it really impacts the life around them, the inner circle around them. That's what I say right here. I think the supporting cast of this movie is fantastic. Sadie Sink, she does a really good job in this movie. I think many people are saying she's the best actor from Stranger Things. Yeah, having watched this, she very well might be. Because I did like seeing the dynamic with her and Brendan Fraser. I mean, she is this daughter who hasn't seen her dad in a very, very long time. Her dad basically left her for his own reasons. And, she walks into his life again and, she kind of hates his fucking guts. She's cold to him, she's distant towards him, she's very rude to him, and some people might have had a problem with how cold she was towards Brendan Fraser. For me, it made sense. I mean, if I was in her shoes and either of my parents just walked out of my life entirely and didn't want to be a part of it, yeah, I'd have some resentment in it too. I think the biggest issue I had with her character though, and I'm going to touch on this on other characters as we go along, I never totally got on board with her. Like, there were just times where, I mean, she was just being cold and rude towards a bunch of other people. And I was just like, do you really need to be this way towards everybody? I mean, yeah, you could point out, like, that's how she deals with grief. Like, that's how she deals with the fact of her dad not being around for a while. Yeah, I get that. I see that. Everyone deals with that in a very different way. I guess maybe you could say this was her way. But I never totally was able to get on board with her, like, okay, like, I like you. I care about you as a character. I didn't really see a whole lot of development with her. She kind of just was who she was. And that's kind of what it is. I really wish with the supporting cast, they got a little bit more development in themselves. They gave good performances, for sure. Like Han Chow, Ty Simpkins, they gave great supporting roles and supporting performances. But at no point did I ever really care about their characters. Because at one point or another, every supporting character in this movie, and even Brendan Fraser to a degree, they all do stuff that kind of pisses you off and upsets you to a point where, especially with the supporting characters, I'm like, okay, I was just about to get on board with you, and then you did something or you said something that just kind of made me take a step back and make me like, you still haven't grown the way I feel you're supposed to. I namely felt that way with Ty Simpkins' character. I mean, he shows up and he feels the need to help Brendan Fraser out of, like, religious beliefs and things like that. And, like, as the story goes on, you feel like, okay, no, his reasons for helping him are changing and it's for better reasons. But then the final time you see him, you're kind of like, okay, you're kind of taking 2 steps back from what I thought you were building towards. And that's kind of one of the flaws for me right here. I wish I cared more about this cast than I ended up caring about. I really cared about Brendan Fraser, and that was it. That's what I'll say right there. This is a very small, condensed movie. I say that in a sense, it's like you've got like 5 or 6 characters in the whole movie, and the entire movie takes place in Brendan Fraser's apartment. I believe the movie was based off a play, so as a result, maybe the play was able to get away with that a little bit more. For me, not as much. I mean, to film an entire movie or to have an entire story take place in one setting, that's really tough to pull off. This movie didn't always do that. There were times the movie did feel a little claustrophobic. It did kind of feel a little maybe too just trapped for me. I don't know, I guess I would have liked to have seen more about Brendan Fraser's past, a little bit more exploring on what his life was like before he became what he was, and kind of what drew him away a little bit. Being in the apartment the whole entire time, it's like we hear about things that happened in the past. I feel like maybe I would have been affected a lot more if we actually saw what happened. Also, is the movie emotional? Yes. Does it hit you a type of way? Yes. This movie makes you feel sad. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It really has you kind of hoping for something that you're kind of knowing in your head isn't going to get any better. It's a movie that gives you a very real and raw feeling, and I definitely have to give it props for that. So all in all, The Whale is a very solid movie, headlined by a spectacular performance. Brendan Fraser gives easily the best performance of his career. He, I think, is a shoo-in to win Best Actor at the Oscars. I will be literally stunned if that does not happen. The rest of the supporting cast, they all give really great performances. I do wish I was a little bit more invested with their characters. The movie doesn't always pull off its one setting kind of vibe. I do wish we could have maybe gotten a little bit more development in the past of certain characters that, again, would have maybe got a little more invested in certain storylines and certain people. The movie is very emotional. It's very dark. It does feel very bleak, and that's what gives you a very real, tough feeling in here. But in the end, if you're a diehard Darren Aronofsky fan, you will probably really love this movie. And even if you're not, like I said, Brendan Fraser's performance, this is easily worth seeing just for that, because his performance alone is going to absolutely blow you away. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.